This is week 23 of The Horror Show. And this is the final conclusion of the Evil Dead franchise, with the latest installment, Evil Dead Rise. A twisted tale of two estranged sisters whose reunion is cut short by the rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into a primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. I like this movie. It's directed by Lee Cronin, composed by McKeon. The movie came out in 2023. It's about an hour and 30 long, a little more, but it's rated R. Alyssa Sutherland plays Ellie. Lily Sullivan plays Beth. Gabrielle Echols plays Bridget. Morgan Davies plays Danny. And Nell Fisher plays Cassie. And that's the cast for the family. There's other characters in the movie, but like... I really like this movie. There is one thing I don't like about the movie, and which I'll get to later, but overall though, I think it's a fine movie. IMDb has it as a 6.5 out of 10, about 150,000 people voted. So now I'm gonna give you my thoughts. Story is a 4 out of 5. It's Evil Dead, except for Army of Darkness, but even Army of Darkness, it's a simple story. Where it's this family, and then like the demons kind of come up, and now they gotta try to survive. That's fun, I think. I mean, it's the same kind of thing as like the other ones, but I think it's a 4 out of 5. Also, just because of just other, in general, kind of things, or the kind of different things that that the story goes when it comes to the whole demons. Characters is a 4 out of 5. Instead of it being a group of friends, it's a family, of course. And it's not like an actual family. It's a mom, her children, and then the mom's sister. So, like, they're missing a dad, dad's deadbeat by dawn kind of thing. I just stole that joke. So I mean, that's fine. How the kids are is how I kind of expect kids to be in that kind of situation when it comes to their personalities, I suppose. Bridget is an activist. Danny is a DJ, or a wannabe DJ anyway, and then Cassie's just a young girl who likes being Sid from Toy Story. I think Sid's his name. Like the bully kid that has the black shirt with the skull on it, and he would tear apart toys and rebuild them using different parts to make them hideous and whatnot. And then there's some other characters, like I said, but I think they're really nice characters, and they feel very they feel relatable, or at least to a degree of, like, the reasons why they are, and, and etc., whatever. It's not like just 4 or 5 kids going to a cabin in the woods and they're just hanging out there, like, so much more, like, reason, and they're more than just, characters you see in a movie. The music's a 4 out of 5, although technically speaking, it probably could be like a 3. I think it's really fitting with what happens in the movie. It doesn't feel out of place. It does not feel out of place. So I like it. I like the music, especially like the music near the end of the movie. But apart from that, the setting's a 4 out of 5. Instead of it being a cabin in the woods, it's a apartment complex that's about to close down, so there's not really that many people left living there. So perfect, right? So it's different. If it was another cabin, then like there would have to be a good reason why it would be a 4. Because if it was just another cabin, it'd probably be like a 3. But yeah, there's that. And then the effects are a 5. Whenever you go watch an Evil Dead movie, you'd like to think that, hey, it's gonna be, you know, really good effects, and it is. Especially the ending. Like, yeah, that's when it gets good. So, ultimately, my grade is like a 4.2 out of 5. So I guess to be real quick, I didn't write this down, I really should have. To be real quick, my ranking of the Evil Dead movies is that from least to best, and just because it's last doesn't mean it's terrible, it's just, you know, which my least favorite Evil Dead movie. So, from 5 to 1. The remake, the original, Rise, Evil Dead 2, and then Army of Darkness. Should have wrote that down, so I don't have to do the whole like hand thing or whatever. So Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead Rise, Evil Dead Remake. There you go. That's that. Let's go over the 1 out of 10s, the 5 out of 10s, and the 10 out of 10s out of IMDb, or at least the general idea, so that after I say the titles of the reviews, and we can kind of get a general understanding on this kind of movie. 1s out of 10s. Complete trash. Director had the wrong formula. What a pile of ... Worst movie seen in years. Just a generic slasher. Okay. 5 out of 10s. I can't explain what's missing here. Shudder original Evil Dead. Evil Dead boring. Disney presents Evil Dead Rise. And then 10 out of 10. Great addition to the Evil Dead franchise. Good, but not for everyone. Mommies with the maggots now. Horror galore. So what do I take from that? If you're someone who's never seen an Evil Dead movie, you're probably just gonna think it's a whatever movie, because I could see it. There's a lot of things in this movie that you see in a lot of newer movies, but I would say for Evil Dead, that's fine, because as long as you have the Evil Dead stuff in the movie, then it's gonna be a fine, good movie, in which they do, so, or at least, you know, to a degree anyway. I have a friend at work who, yeah, he might have been gaslighted, because he likes to do that sometimes, but, he was saying he didn't like this movie, and he's someone that I don't think goes out and watches movies that much, so that's starting to kind of make sense, you know, like, if you've seen Evil Dead movies, and then you watch Evil Dead Rise, you're not gonna go out of that thinking that it's just a generic slasher, you know, like, only someone who's never seen Evil Dead movies would think something like that, and if that person has watched Evil Dead movies, it's really interesting that he would call it a generic slasher, unless there's like in his review he, you know, goes more in depth, and it's like, yeah, whatever. I could understand why people would call it like Shudder Original or Disney Presents, because when you watch Evil Dead, let's say you watch the original Evil Dead and you watch this Evil Dead, there's a lot of similarities, and, you know, on the surface they're the same when it comes to like the effects and like the kills and whatnot, but I'm not gonna lie, there's sometimes in this movie, it's just, I can't really put it, I can't really like find the right words, but something about it's like, I totally see why they're saying it's Disney Presents, because I guess this movie doesn't go as far as, say, Evil Dead 2, even to a degree, as far as the one, even the remake. It sometimes doesn't feel like it, but, you know, of course you know, they do with some of the kills and whatnot. But, I don't know, sometimes I have that feeling, because, like, if they did go all the way, this probably would be the best Evil Dead movie. I think, anyway. But, and then of course, you know, people who love Evil Dead movies and people who just like eating up food, like movies like, you know, eating up food, such as myself, I would say this is a really good movie. 10 out of 10? Not really, probably. It's probably more like an 8 or a 9 out of 10, but, I could see why someone would say less. So, ultimately, it's a really good movie with relatable characters, and the music is fitting with the fresh setting of an apartment complex. This is like my sum up, but like kind of like ChatGPT kind of sum up. The biggest pro about this movie is, in my opinion, the effects and whatnot, the blood, the gore. They did digitalize some of the effects, but like, you know, we live in a time when you kind of have to. Alright, the only thing about this movie that I don't like, there's an old Italian movie called Night of the Demons. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Where basically, like, a demon outbreak happens at, like, an apartment complex, except it's an apartment complex that's full of people, and so it becomes quite the nightmare. But like I was under the impression that Evil Dead Rise, it was gonna be that kind of thing, and I was kind of looking forward to that. But then watching the movie, I was like, oh, kind of let down a bit. I mean, it's still a fine movie, but like I thought I was going in to see something else, and then it wasn't that. It was much less than that. It was like, oh, okay, I see how it is. But apart from that, though, it's a fine movie. Would I go watch it again? Yeah, some point. Is it tonight? No. Is it tomorrow? Probably not. Some other time down the road. But yeah. I'm Sam, Flying Kite. This is the horror show, week 23, and we finished off the Evil Dead franchise. There's gonna be another one coming out next year, I think. And then there should be another one, because it's like, it feels like they're gonna want to, unless one of the next ones is just awful, they're gonna want to try to make Evil Dead like every couple year kind of thing, or something like that, which I'm perfectly fine with, as long as it doesn't like crap the bed, I guess. But who knows? Time will tell. I will see y'all next week for the new I'm gonna do a trilogy, but it's not really a trilogy. Not in of itself, but you know, it's kind of a trilogy because it's the original, then the first remake, and then the second remake. So yeah, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.